Well, good evening, everybody. This is Keith with Positively Osceola for another episode of our evening coffee club discussion. And as I say every time, it is authentic, folks. Real coffee. These are not props. We are absolutely, well, I am, and never know. Everybody has coffee cups tonight. We're pretty impressed. So, really cool night. We're going to have a great discussion. And just ironically, it was pouring out here just before this discussion. So I felt like the Lord said, yes, you will speak of water tonight in abundance. And that is, I kind of guess what we're talking about. So let's go ahead and introduce our guests for the evening. I am with Leigh Wachter, who is the Floodplains Manager, City of St. Cloud, correct? Title? Nail the title?
That's right.
And
That's right.
Cool. Well, I'm glad you're here. And Naseem Ghandour, who is the Public Works Director, also at the City of St. Cloud. So very cool that you guys can come out and talk with us tonight. And, it's great when we get to share. Something's clicking. I don't know what that is, but it's clicking away. Let me turn it down a little bit here. Maybe that's me a little. Could be. But love when we have discussions that are really pertinent to what we're doing on a daily basis. So I guess the theme, we're going to be talking about hurricane preparedness, and also we're certainly going to be talking about the current storm season with Leigh and some mitigation about flooding for the citizens as well, and what you can do to make that not happen or what it does. So Naseem, why don't you go ahead and kick it off?
Oh, well, thank you very much. Yeah, like Keith said, my name is Naseem Ghandour. I'm the Public Works Director here at the City of St. Cloud. And just give you some overview on hurricane preparedness, especially for this upcoming season. So each year, hurricane season begins on June 1st and lasts for approximately 5 months, with storms typically peaking around August and September. As with every hurricane season, regardless of the forecast, knowing the essentials of how to prepare could truly be a lifesaver. So, and those are the points I'm going to be talking about today. Just going over a broad overview of what you need to understand in order to make sure that you're prepared for this hurricane season and, of course, future hurricane seasons. Sure. So we understand that the hurricane season may especially be challenging, particularly during this time of COVID-19 situation. Just want everyone to know that the City of St. Cloud, Osceola County, along with the state of Florida, we're all working together to ensure that we stay safe as a community. And that's foremost the most important thing to remember. This may be your first hurricane. Or you may be a seasoned veteran of Florida hurricanes, such as myself. But however, regardless how many times you've gone through a hurricane, or you're coming up to your very first one, here are some important tips that are truly helpful to remember. 5 tips. The first one, most important. Me as a engineer, and of course love planning, it's never too early to prepare for hurricane season. Although hurricane season starts in June, plan your purchases out for those essential items throughout the year, especially prior to any kind of named storm event, because as everyone knows, when a named storm event comes up, that's when everyone else starts kind of going to the stores, and as we especially know during COVID-19, it's hard to get certain products out in the stores. And if you plan your purchases out through and to prepare early, not only will you be helping save money, but you'll ensure that you'll be able to get those essential items. And make sure that the items that you plan on getting, you have 7 days of supplies. If you're wondering what kind of suggested hurricane preparedness items to get, a really easy place to go is www.floridadisaster.org and search Hurricane Supply Kit Checklist. And you'll find a lot of helpful items on there to help you, prepare for this hurricane and, of course, any other hurricanes. The second important item, is to, of course, stay informed. Hurricanes can be projected in advance, unlike, other storms that we may get, sporadic flash floods, tornadoes, for example. We're lucky enough to be able to have technology that can give us days, if not weeks, in advance to know when a hurricane may be approaching. However, the exact path of the hurricane is not predetermined, as most people who've watched the news in the past. There's those cones of uncertainty, and gives you a projected path. However, again, this is Mother Nature, and the exact path is never certain until it gets much, much closer. So for that, tune into your local news channel or the National Hurricane Center. They have you can go to their website regarding projected storm events, and of course, having understanding of the projected paths that they'll be coming. The third point is have a plan. Just like it's never too early to prepare, it's never too early to have a plan. Develop a family hurricane preparedness plan before the actual storm threatens your area. If you're not sure what to do when disaster strikes, to me, that's a key indication to make that plan today. To get you and your family started, you can visit the Florida Disaster website at www.floridadisaster.org and search Get a Plan. The fourth point is have a place to go if you're ordered to evacuate. If you're unable to stay with friends or family, or there's no hotels or motels rooms available in your area, then seek going to a community shelter as your last resort. Again, during COVID-19, community shelters, your local agencies, city, county, state agencies are taking extra precautions for social distancing during COVID-19. Remember, these shelters are not designed for comfort and usually may not accept pets. And then the last point, and I like to think this is probably one of the most important points, kind of side by side with having a plan, is know that you're not alone. Know that the Save St. Cloud, the county, and the state are here to help you prepare and also recover from any kind of hurricane or other disasters. There's also several local and regional nonprofit organizations. There's communities, neighbors who are all, I'm sure, willing to help. And as such, I know that you're willing to help them and other people, your neighbors, your friends, maybe even strangers, when they're in need as well. So so always know that whether it's this hurricane season or future hurricane seasons, you're not alone. If you need more information, a great site to go to is the floridadisaster.org website, or contact your city, county's emergency management office.
A lot of great information. What hit me, and maybe Leanne or Naseem, you can both comment on this if you want to. I think one of the challenges that we see today, we're at all the press conferences, we're at all the media invites, and one of the things that hits me is that or the concerns I have is that I'll see the community start to have a bit of emergency fatigue or storm fatigue. I mean, we certainly, in this part of Florida and throughout the state, when there are numerous threats of severe storms, of severe weather, we see less and less. Maybe people lose a little of the edge on their preparedness. So how do you deal with that when you're trying to explain to people, like you just said, these are strong points to make to the community, strong points to make to residents. They have to reach out, take it seriously, and reach out to the authorities and people in places, in positions such as yourselves. How do you voice that? And like I said, maybe Leanne, maybe you can kick in on this. So how do you voice that to people to explain, look, you've got to take these seriously each time because they come with deadly force and they're not to be taken lightly. So how do you continue to explain to people that these things you're saying are always going to be important?
Well, it's our role as the community leaders to educate our residents as much as possible. This is one avenue that we can take with Positively Osceola, and hopefully they can have some takeaways from this evening in beginning their preparation. It's our job to reduce their anxiety so that they can feel that they're prepared for whatever disaster, whether it be natural disaster, pandemics that we will see. it's our job to inform them and educate them and provide them with all of the tools that they can that they need so that they can feel prepared to get their family ready for storm season.
So do you think the COVID-19 might have a? Do you think it's going to have a? Will be an assistance to us where we were used to being prepared at this point?
I didn't hear you. It was crackling. I'm sorry.
Oh, it's okay. I said, do you think maybe during COVID-19 we've become more alerted? We're used to preparing, used to stocking things up. We think that's possibly that assistance to us.
Yeah, I think people are now sort of in the routine of preparing. They take everything seriously. Their senses are heightened from the pandemic. So I think it's actually starting into storm season. It's really going to help us as a community to be prepared.
So aside from the things that Naseem, that was awesome. That clicking. I don't know what that clicking is. I think it may be your phone. Turn it off for a second. All right. So what would you say to somebody who has just moved in town and hasn't had the joy of the oncoming threats and certainly the cone of uncertainty that just by its title can be disconcerting for sure. So what do you say to people who maybe never experienced this before? What can they do other than the preparedness as far as stocking up, getting the batteries, getting all those particular supplies? What can they do as citizens to do around their own homes? What can they do to help mitigate the challenges? Anybody?
Yeah, that one's Naseem's.
Go for it, Naseem.
No, that's fine. For sure. I mean, whether you own or rent a home, it's very important to ensure that you're aware of your surroundings. That you obviously your home, or your apartment. Your community. How to kind of navigate where certain stores are and so forth. Again, it's just important just to be to have that situational awareness. Make those connections. I mean, if you're new to the area, when you're out there making friends and so forth, have the conversations from those people who've the seasoned veterans. I'll say it like that. Kind of get their take on it. And the most important thing I like to say is communication is key through anything. Proper communication. Don't be afraid to ask questions. You're not in it alone. People have done it, been there, done that, and people are more than happy to, let you know exactly what you need to do for yourself. Make sure that you're not, for your house. There's certain, you can have, get plywood. Get if you feel that you need to, sandbags if you feel that might be a risk on certain things. The flashlights, batteries, all these little things that can help out. I mean, again, you don't have to go overboard on it. And that's the key thing is just not to go overboard. Just have a communication, situation awareness, and make those connections.
Gotcha. So maybe this is toward Leanne. So obviously we're in one of the fastest growing communities in the state of Florida. How does the city like St. Cloud, how do you manage this? How do you become prepared for this fast as we're growing? Did you hear that?
Not really.
What I'm saying is St. Cloud is such a rapidly growing community. How do you prepare to stay on top of that as a city with such rapid growth as far as the flood scenario?
All right. Well, whenever you have new development, you're going to have different drainage patterns. So with the growth, we're having quite one of the highest growth rates, definitely in the state, if not in the nation, the St. Cloud is seeing. So with the new development that we're seeing, especially with the new residential coming in to play, it's going to create new drainage patterns. The water's going to flow in different areas. And so we need to be cognizant of that, especially to identify what flood zone that you're in. I am going to touch on a little bit more later on about how to find out what flood zone you're in, special flood hazard areas. But it's important to know that if you are in you have a vacant property, maybe you have agricultural use, and you have a residential subdivision coming in next to you, that's going to alter the water patterns. And Naseem's Public Works Department works very hard in reviewing all of the drainage, stormwater patterns that we have for the city. They do an excellent job with that. Everything is engineered properly. But with when you have development, you also have flooding risks.
Yes, you do. Go back. So how does somebody know? When you were talking, one of the things that hit me is, so how do you know if you're in a flood risk area?
Okay, so give me just 1 second. All right, so something that's interesting is homeowners don't necessarily know that are aware that flood damage is not covered by their homeowner's insurance. So it's important for property owners to know what flood zone that they're in. We have many properties, about 3,500 properties in the city that lie within a special flood hazard area, which those are known as flood zones A and AE. Now, these properties within this zone do require flood insurance coverage. However, keep in mind that flood damage can occur even if you're not located in that special flood hazard area. Now, I do encourage the residents to contact me directly if they want to find out what flood zone that they are in. And here's the number.
Bam. 957
Yeah. 407-957-7275. You can call that number. We can look up your flood zone, identify which one you're in. Now, everybody is in a flood zone. It just depends on if you're in a special flood hazard area.
Right.
Now, I have some good news, though, for folks who are in the special flood hazard area or not. The city has been participating in the National Flood Insurance Program for a number of years, which provides property owners, also renters and business owners, flood insurance. The city, though, additionally participates in the community's rating system. And this provides a reduced flood insurance premium to our patrons. Property owners located within the special flood hazard areas, which is flood zones A and AE, they can receive up to 15% discount on their flood insurance premiums. And then those outside of the special flood hazard area, which is flood zone X, they can save up to 5% on their insurance premiums. It's a good idea for property owners to consider flood insurance coverage for their home or business, regardless of their zone. I personally am located in flood zone X, which is not in the special flood hazard area. But this year, I opted to voluntarily get flood insurance just for that peace of mind, knowing that storm season started early, the last weekend in May, and we have already witnessed lots of flooding. So if you want to learn more about either voluntarily getting it for your flood zone X, or if you're in a special flood hazard area, you can go to floodsmart.gov. You can also contact your homeowner's insurance company and ask them to give you a quote. Now, you don't have to shop around for quotes from different homeowners insurance companies. It's going to be a policy that comes from FEMA regardless, and it's always going to be the same cost. So no one's going to bamboozle you with additional fees. Now, for those properties that are within the special flood hazard area, I mailed out in April notices to all those property owners to inform them of their risk and how they can protect themselves, and how they can learn a little bit more about flood insurance. There's also some things that residents can do to minimize their occurrence of flooding, regardless of what zone they're in, if you don't mind me going into that.
Please do.
So exciting. So if we as a community take some precautions, we can greatly reduce the occurrence of flooding and the severity of flooding. As we've seen just in the last couple weekends, the flooding in more of the low-lying areas downtown in the grid, and then in some of the older residential subdivisions, there are things that we could have done to maybe reduce the amount of severity of that flooding. So some of those things that can help reduce the risk is it's important that residents not blow their yard waste into the street, which leads to the clogging of storm drains.
Right.
My neighborhood is notorious for that. As soon as you cut your grass, you blow your grass into the street and down into the storm drain because it's a garbage disposal.
Right.
But that, directly clogs the drains, which dump right into the stormwater ponds, and that is our drainage system, and that's number one cause for flooding in the residential communities.
Sure.
Also, it's important to be mindful of erosion around your property. Rain runoff from the roof is the primary reason for erosion around your house. Roof gutters that extend at least 1 foot away from your house can prevent these problems.
Right.
So you need to ensure that your gutters not only are directed away from your home, but they're directed towards either the street or your drainage areas, the swales or the drains.
Sure.
And then one other thing that homeowners can do is inspect the fences to ensure that water can flow freely underneath. Fences can sometimes be installed either too low to the ground, or they can be blocked by yard debris.
Right.
And we need to make sure that you have that free flow of water so that it does have that natural drainage, either to the back of the yard, to the front of the yard, or the side swale. Let's see. Also, you need to be mindful of low floor elevations in your home. Although a lot of the modern homes, the floors are built above the elevation of the road, which is great. But some spaces, such as the garages or patios, they can be at a lower elevation. So be mindful of the items that you store in these areas so that you keep them safe away from the floor level for your precious Christmas decorations in your garage that you don't want to get wet.
Which is only a few months off, it seems. So what happens, in the communities, St. Cloud does a great job of making sure, so does Kissimmee and Osceola County as a whole, as far as bringing or making it possible to get sandbags. But that is such a manic scenario at that point, even when it's very well ordered. And I know the last time that it was done in St. Cloud was very well managed, but still by the nature of it, it's in a very tight time schedule. So what happens if somebody does go through a flooding incident around their business, around their residence? So what would you recommend the safest course of action at that point?
Yeah. So if your property is damaged by flooding, your home, now you may notice that you have flooding in your backyard, in your drainage area. That's different. Some of that is actually purposeful because that's your drainage. That's the drainage path for water. But if your property, if your home, if your foundation, if it's damaged by flooding, it's very important prior to storm season, that would be right now, take photos of your home and your belongings prior to the damage occurring. If your home does incur damage, be sure to take lots of photos and videos to document the damage for insurance purposes.
Gotcha. Well, that's good stuff. So, Naseem, anything you'd like to kick in on this? I know you're certainly have a wealth of knowledge in this area. So anything that you guys like to share, we'll kind of close it up in a few minutes, but anything we may have missed as far as the residents and just being prepared, or how they react correctly and wisely if something was to happen?
I've got a couple things I just want residents to be aware of with the storm season. Some things that people don't always know. is that when we do have flooding, the greatest threat is from moving water. And regardless of the size of your vehicle, people should avoid driving in moving water. A vehicle that's caught in only 6 inches of moving water can just be swept away in seconds.
Sure.
And so, additionally, just for safety precautions coming into storm season, heavy rain collects on the roadways and throughout the neighborhoods, and roadways can become obscure with the water, and drivers can unknowingly drive into deep bodies of water by not seeing that it's ponding on the side of the road. Additionally, electricity from streetlights and power poles can be active in standing water, and they can shock you.
Badly.
People need, yeah, right. It is deadly. People need to avoid coming in contact with floodwater or standing water. It can become and often becomes contaminated.
Sure.
I have seen when it floods, children in my neighborhood think it's fun to play in the contaminated standing water. They can get sick. They can get bitten by snakes or by floating insects. If you do come into contact with floodwaters, it's important that you rinse and sanitize thoroughly. And just a couple things that I wanted to share with you, some resources. And I know that I think some of our other coffee talks, Osceola County, and some other folks have talked about these, but I just want to reiterate
Please.
that the Kissimmee Utility Authority publishes their 2020 Osceola Hurricane Handbook. This is the publication that they put out earlier this year.
It's a very cool logo on that bottom one. You see the logo on that bottom? Oh, look at that. Look at that logo.
Yeah. This publication is a partnership between KUA, Osceola County, the cities of Kissimmee, St. Cloud, Toho Water Authority, University of Florida IFAS Extension in Osceola County, and ding, 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 Positively Osceola.
Oh my gosh, that's right.
This is a great resource to help residents better understand what to expect when faced with severe storm or hurricane, how best to prepare. It also provides a comprehensive directory of resources. So this is a really good go-to. Yep. And this publication is available online at kua.com. And then one other resource that I have that I keep also, in addition to the other one, in my hurricane kit. This one has a lot of bells and whistles on it. This is the Osceola County Emergency Preparedness Quick Tips. This one, I like this one because it provides a great comprehensive emergency kit list for families with children, pets, seniors, special needs. So I actually keep the 2 of these. I print each one when they update every year and keep them in my hurricane kit. So these are great resources.
So you're not just preaching it, you're living it.
I'm practicing it.
That's a good thing. That's a good thing.
Hopefully not having to use it.
Well, yeah, that's very true. So Naseem, anything you want to kick in here toward the end?
Oh yeah, definitely. So part of hurricane season, the Public Works Department, they do. They're going full steam, even with COVID-19 right now. I know every personnel in Public Works is coming into work and doing a lot of things in order to help the city and the city residents, the city businesses to get ready for hurricane season. For example, the streets and drainage crews are, they've been driving around the city for weeks now, going to pretty much every single community, ponds, stormwater systems. We're communicating with communities in regards to their stormwater systems to ensure that their, the community associations are doing their part to ensure that their stormwater systems are prepared for the water surges.
Right.
The solid waste transfer station is, actively, preparing their site to ensure that the yard waste that is collected is processed and hauled away before hurricane season comes, because we anticipate if we do get hurricanes that we'll be getting more yard waste down trees, etc. So we'll be able to respond to that as well. So this is why I ask is everyone just be cognizant that the Public Works teams are going out full steam ahead right now to ensure that the city's prepared, and we're hoping that all the work that we're doing to get prepared is for just another easy season, and that with no named storm events coming through, and we did all this work and not having to use it. That to us, that's the best. That'd be the best scenario. However, we work diligently to ensure that we're helping everyone up in the city prepare for this hurricane season.
And that's not an easy challenge. As you said, Leanne, you're talking about this time of year when everybody's mowing lawns much more frequently than blowing them into the storm drains. So good takeaway on that one tonight. Don't blow your clippings onto the street. So good one. Well, I just want to thank you guys for being here. Leanne, do you want to show your coffee cup one more time so that if they need to give you a call?
I can't wait for all the calls.
Bam. She came prepared.
I came prepared. It's all about
preparedness. The handbook, the poster, and the information in the coffee. Well, we'll figure out what that clicking is some other day. But hey, I just want to thank you both for being here. There's never too much preparedness, never too much information when it comes to the storms that we have to all deal with. I'll make sure I get this. Thank you right there. And somebody did ask where you pick up that KUA handbook. Again, you can download that at KUA.com or pick it up at the KUA lobby if you want the printed version. So I guess that's it, folks. Anything else you want to share? You good?
No, thanks for having us.
Glad you've been here. All right. So again, we have Leanne Wachter, the flood plains manager from City of St. Cloud, and Naseem Ghandour from the Public Works Director, also at the City of St. Cloud. We very much appreciate what you guys brought to the table tonight. So thank you for being here.
Thank you.
All right. Again, this is Keith with Positively Osceola with these wonderful community leaders from the City of St. Cloud. Together, we're making a positive difference in Osceola County. Take care.